Hi class, we have a lesson in solving problems using line plots. This is found in SWON 8-3 and 8-4. Our learning goal is today I will solve problems involving addition and subtraction of fractions by using information presented on a number line. On a line plot, sorry. A line plot is a type of graph that shows the frequency of the data along a number line. Each X represents a piece of data, and then plot is to represent a value on a number line or a line plot. Equivalent fractions. So yesterday we saw our line plot. And if I had 1/2 here, I could split this number line into fourths. Now I have 1/4, and then 2/4, and 3/4. And I could see that this was 2/2. This is also 4/4. So 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions. 1, 2/2, and 4/4 are all equivalent fractions. Our steps. First step is to list all numbers horizontally. Second step is convert all fractions to equivalent fractions using common denominators. Step 3 is list all numbers from least to greatest. Then draw and label the line plot, plot the fractions, or plot the data, and then add or subtract to solve. This is our only new step, the last one. Okay, you're gonna pause and watch. I have my model and input. My first problem says, Mr. Jones's 4th grade PE class ran the mile on Tuesday. The data represents how far each student ran in miles. Plot the data on the line plot and add the total distances of the students who ran 3/4 of a mile. So I need to make my line plot, so I'm gonna list all the numbers horizontally, which it's already done. Now I'm gonna convert them, making sure that they all have the common denominator. I always look for the highest denominator, which is 8. So now I'm going to convert this one to eighths, which would be 6/8. I just multiply the bottom until I have 8, and whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I multiply 4 times 2, so I have to multiply 3 times 2. Same thing, I have to find a number. What can I multiply by 2 that will get me 8 is 4. So I multiply the bottom by 4, and I multiply the top by 4. This one is 8/8. 1 and 1/2, so I have 1 and 4/8. 3/4 would be 6/8. 8/8, 2/8, 8/8, and then 6/8. Now it says to list the numbers from least to greatest. So I'm gonna start, which one's the least? I see 2/8 is the least, so I have 2/8, I'm gonna cross it off. I don't see any 3/8, I see 4/8, so 4/8, another 4/8. Now I see 6/8. I skipped one, 6/8. I don't see any 7/8, but I see 2 8/8. Oh, there's another 8/8. And then finally 1 and 4/8. Okay, so I've listed them from least to greatest. Now I need to draw and label my line plot and plot that data. So I have 0 to 1, and then to 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am messed up. I'm gonna cross off that extra one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, 9/8. Oh, let's do 1 and 1/8. 1 and 2/8, 1 and 3/8, 1 and 4/8, 1 and 5/8, 1 and 6/8, and then 1 and 7/8. So now I'm just going to cross off as I label them. 2 for 4/8, 3 for 6/8, 3 for 8/8, 1 for 1 and 4/8. Okay, so now I have to answer the questions. It says plot the data on a line plot and add the total distance of the students who ran 3 3/4 of a mile. So I need to look here, and I don't see fourths on mine, so I need to convert that to eighths, which would be 6/8. So I have 6/8 plus 6/8 plus 6/8. Which equals to 18/8, and I can solve that by doing 18 divided by 8. I know that's 2. 2 times 8 is 16, so I have a remainder 2, which would be 2 and 2/8, or 2 and 1/4. Okay, our second problem says, using the line plot from the previous problem, what is the difference between the longest and shortest distance run by the students in Mr. Jones's PE class? So I'm looking down below, and I split mine into eighths, but I noticed that they converted it to fourths. That's okay, because if you look 6/4, that's my 1 and 4/8. Then notice for 1, or my 1, I have 3 x's above it. I have 3 here. My 3/4, that's our 6/8 that we solved. And I have 1, 2, 3 above that, 1, 2, 3. And then my 4/8 is 2/4, 2 above that, and then 1 above 2/8. So 1 above 1/4. So these two line plots are the exact same. They just have different denominators that are equivalent to each other. So I need to find the difference between the longest. So here's my longest, and then my shortest. So difference tells me I need to subtract. So I have 6/4 minus 1/4 equals to 5/4, which equals to 1 and 1/4. Okay, I'm getting out my green pens so you're following along. You're copying again. First step says to list all the numbers horizontally. They're almost all listed horizontally. Let's rewrite them. 3 and 1/4, 3 and 1/4, 3 and 5/8, 3 and 3/8, 2 and 5/8, 3 and 5/8, 3 and 1/4, 2 and 6/8, 3 and 2/4, 3 and 5/8. So now I need to convert all the fractions to equivalent fractions using common denominators. I always look for the highest. I have eighths, so I'm just gonna do 3 and 2/8 because I find whatever the denominator is. I look to 4, I need to get to 8, so I multiply by 2 on the top and the bottom. I need to multiply by 2 to get that 10, 8. So I have 3 and 2/8. Multiply by 2 to get to 8. Multiply by 2 to get to 8. Okay, so now they all have the common denominator. Now I need to list them from least to greatest. So I see that there's 2 2s, so 5/8 and then 2 and 6/8. I don't see any 1/8s for the 3, but I see 3 and 2/8. 1. Okay, now I see 3 and 3/8. Oh, I do see it. Oh, I missed a 3 and 2/8. Change that to a 2. 3 and 3/8. Okay, now I have 4, 3 and 4/8. 3 and 5/8. 1, 2, 3 of them. One, 2, 3. Okay, all the data is crossed off. Now I need to draw and label the line plot. So I'm going from 2 to 4. And I'm splitting it up into 8s, so 7 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 2 and 1/8, 2 and 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. Now I'm gonna add my 2s. Okay, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. Add my 3s. Okay, so now I need to plot my data. So I have 2 and 5/8, 2 and 6/8, 3 and 2/8, another 3 and 2/8, another 3 and 2/8, 3 and 3/8, 3 and 4/8, 3 and 5/8, another 3 and 5/8, and another one and 3 and 5/8. Okay, so I plotted my data. Now I need to add or subtract to solve. So the question says, students measured the lengths of the crayons in inches. Read the measurements, plot the data on line plot, and find the length of all the crayons that measured 3 1/4. So again, we have it in 8ths, so 3 times 2 to get that into 8ths, and then times 2, so 3 and 2/8. So I need to find all the crayons that measured 3 and 2/8. So that's right here. I have 3 of them. So I have 3 and 2/8 plus 3 and 2/8 plus 3 and 2/8. 3, 6, 9. Denominator stays the same, 2, 4, 6. Which would also equal to 9 and 3/4. Both answers are correct. Okay, our next problem says, using the line plot from the previous problem, what is the difference in the length of the longest and shortest crayon? So my longest crayon is 3 and 5/8, and difference tells me subtraction, and then the shortest is 2 and 5/8. Okay, I can take 5 away from 5, which would give me 0/8. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. If I have 0/8, I don't have any, so my answer is just 1. 1 inch. Okay, you have 1, 2 homework problems, and then rate your understanding.